If I could have your attention in the media center, we're going to go ahead and get started with our media availability. We're now joined by Bubba Wallace Jr., driver of the number 43 STP Chevrolet. Bubba, you had a Truck Series win here in 2014. How does what you did then translate on this level?
Translates a lot. I said it's pretty cool. If he's still up there right now, the 54 up top brings back some memories. It's been 3.5 years since I've been here, even stepped foot. So Amanda and I got in last night about 10:30, and it was pitch black, but I just knew my way like the back of my hand. I was like, man, this is so cool to be back. Just I love coming to this place. It provides, always great success, good racing, and now that I'm here in the Cup Series, you're at the top level, so you're feeling all the nooks and crannies of what goes on, what those guys go for each and every day. So I remember sitting on pit road, or at the time I was driving for Kyle, so I would sit on his hauler and just watch the Cup guys. So now I'm actually driving the Cup car. So this is cool, kind of a surreal moment for sure, coming back and driving the number 43 STP Chevrolet for the STP 500. So car looks great. Probably the most badass looking car here for sure. I may be a little biased, but I think everybody can agree.
Good. All right, we're going to go ahead and open it up to questions. Raise your hand. We're going to mic to you. We'll start here in the corner.
Chad Hall, BTW21. Tell me a little bit about your trip to Magna Vista, man. You were just at Magna Vista.
Yeah.
You had a great time. Kids were pretty pumped up to have you there.
Yeah, no, for sure. That was fun. School visits are always fun. Getting to see the excitement on their faces and just intrigue them more about NASCAR and getting them out to the STP 500 and just getting them out to a local track of theirs. So that's where it all starts, is getting the younger generation to go to like Motor Mile, or I don't know if that's still open, South Boston for sure. Get them out there to enjoy, Friday night lights and Saturday night short track racing, and then get them to come out here and enjoy the big show that we bring. Is really cool. So that we had the band there. They had me on the drum set, which I wasn't really ready for that. I hadn't been on my kit in 3 weeks, so to jump on that was a little bit of a transition. But all in all, it was a good time. Y'all have a good day.
No, Jacob Seelman, Speed Sport, hiding in the corner band. There we go. Martinsville was the King's house, Bubba. You're in the King's colors. This place is so much about history, and I know the history of the sport is something that means a lot to you. What does all that combined mean for you going into this weekend at a place where you've had so much success in the past?
Yeah, I mean, this is I always say that Dover's my favorite place, just because of how fun it is. But you look at stats here, and we ran really good here in the trucks, and I haven't stopped thinking about winning this race and winning everything a part of it. We didn't win practice, so we're already starting off on a bad note, but I'll let that go. But just everything that has gone on my 2 years here, 4 races that we had in the trucks, even K&N cars, it's just one of those places that it just clicked. And to see the success that the King had, and now we're tying it all in together. I'm so excited to just be here, and no matter where we end up, I'm racing in Martinsville again. I've been for years wanting Xfinity to come here just so we can have some fun and really do good. But I think the 3-year break has helped, has prepared me more for this event, just trying to be better and get to experience this. I mean, they're totally different handling, totally different driving, although the little bit that I remember from those weekends, it's a night and day difference for sure in the Cup car.
Has anybody reminded you that Richard does have 15 wins here?
I think a time or two. I've heard it a couple of times. Yeah. I'm 13 away.
We'll go here next to Caleb.
So Woody Kane with MRN. You don't get many off weeks in the Cup Series, but you got one coming up. You got any special plans? Are you a staycation kind of guy, and maybe any special Easter memories you have?
So funny story. Blaney, we were all trying to figure out kind of an off weekend plan, and they were wanting to go overseas, and I'm like, that's just too much time. And Amanda had asked me, what are we doing for Easter? And I was like, well, I was going to take a trip. She's like, oh, yeah, it's my birthday. And I'm like, oh, I'm staying home then. So totally missed that. So we're going to celebrate her birthday. She's a big 2-4 this year. We have, I don't know what we're going to do for Easter. We're just thinking we're just going to relax. I know she loves that after working Monday through Friday. She just wants to kind of hang at home. But we haven't thought of any super plans yet. But I'm sure we'll find something to do, and I'm sure I'll put it on social media for everybody to enjoy.
Caleb Whistler kicking the tires. Bubba, how would you assess the first 5 races of the season with Richard Petty Motorsports?
Yeah, we've been struggling a little bit, but it's all of learning together. Looking back on last year when I jumped in, they already had some mojo rolling. And right now with the new team, with a new alliance with RCR, new manufacturer with Chevrolet and the Camaro Z01, we're just figuring things out. And, we're trying certain things in practice and throughout the race that we know that will work and that won't work. So there's nothing to hang our heads about. Obviously, we all know that we need to be running better than where we have been. It was good to get a top 20 this past weekend in California, something to build off of. We had a good, clean day. Phoenix was probably our best race out of those first four, not counting Daytona, until we just hit pit road. We just weren't all clicking on 8 cylinders there, and that took us out of contention. So if we could redo it, if you had a redo, Phoenix would have been really good to us, I believe. But it's just a learning curve. For me to come here and go to all these tracks. I mean, I'm not fully learning the whole racetrack until first, second stage into the race. Where it's like, oh, I could have done this in practice, probably gained a little bit of speed. So the being able to adapt a little bit quicker is what I need to work on. But I'm excited to see where we're heading. We got a lot of good tracks coming up for them. Practice is always practice. You never know what tire game anybody's on, and everybody can go out and bust off a lap. But I found out quick here in the Truck Series. I mean, you can lay down a lap if you want to, but I mean, it really pays for the long run stuff. So I made sure we were getting our balance right, and that's what we worked on after practice. I talked to them. It's like I'm not out there trying to bust a good lap each and every lap. I'm trying to get into a good rhythm, and we're just missing that. We're inconsistent in certain parts of the corner. So, but for the season, we'll get things in tip-top shape and start making some ground up soon.
All right, we'll go here in the middle and work our way to the front.
Mark Garrow, PRN. Can you talk about the differences? You sort of come from each level from the ground up, traveling to the races, how you started and how it is now as a full-time driver on the Monster Energy Cup Series.
Yeah, no, it's totally different. Sitting back those last 3 weeks, I go ahead and label it as a prima donna, sure, full-time Cup driver. But sitting in the hauler, I didn't take my bus out, and I was sitting in the hauler, and I'm like, man, I used to do this, sit in the hauler and be bored the whole time. Having the bus has been super nice, but it was still good to get to experience all of that. I mean, ever since I could remember, since we started, it was me, my dad, and the guy that got us started is Chris Rogers, that were always going to the racetrack, hanging out in the trailer. We got a motorhome, so we stayed in that a little bit, but it was always just about being at the racetrack the whole entire time, getting to experience all that. So now it's a little bit more relaxed, but with a busier schedule. So it all comes with it, when you get to the Cup level. So I'm excited. I'm still, in awe and in shock of, finally being here, getting my chance, and just trying to prove to everybody that I belong. I know I still got a long way to go with that, but it's been a fun journey.
Do you have any particular story of you traveling to the racetrack, and it doesn't really matter which series, that something funny happened or crazy happened between home track or track and home?
Hell, with me, every racetrack I go to, something crazy happens. One that sticks out, man, I'm here, coming here in a late model, which I don't talk about my late model stats here because I never made the race for the big show here in October. Getting into fights, wrecking, who'd I wreck? Deke McCaskill, one of the most badass guys in late model. I think I wrecked him. But yeah, there's an interesting story.
We'll go here in the front.
Mike Hember, USA Today. You mentioned clicking here pretty quick. There's a lot of the sport's great drivers, Bobby Allison, Bill Elliott, never won a race here. I realize you haven't done it in Cup, but what do you think the difference is when a driver can hook up here pretty quick and some that never really make it?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, you can look at what cars were around who there in practice, and we were better than some of the really good cars that are normally pretty good on Sundays. And so it really comes down to driver and having the right feel for it. So I think that really goes a long way. You're not really aero dependent. It's more mechanical. It's more inside the race car, inside the seat there, trying to muscle these machines around the racetrack. So, I always have that good feeling coming into here. I think the confidence level is up, and that helps out, for sure. But, with that, the speed isn't there. Like, we don't have that. We can't showcase it, but the feeling is what we're really working on. So that's the behind-the-scenes stuff that we really don't get to capture and push out there. But it's still just one of those deals. Like, you got to be ready for it. You got to, this place is tricky. It's not your normal short track that you grew up racing on. The heavy braking zones with, how heavy these cars are. Trying to muscle them through the center of the corner, get them to rotate up off and have the good drive, it takes a lot of skill.
We'll go next to Jeff up front.
Jeff Gluck from jeffgluck.com.
Nice Instagram stories.
Oh, thanks.
Mm-hmm.
I just was curious about your interactions with Migos last week. Like, what did you talk to them about? Did they seem interested in NASCAR? You think they'll come back ever?
Yeah, I think so. They were very interested. I was talking to them about their tour and where they were heading next. They were heading overseas Tuesday of this week, I believe. So for them to come out and experience our sport, it goes a long way. And I think the fan engagement of that from your non-traditional NASCAR fan spiked. Seeing Migos there, seeing Ice Cube there, and that's what the sport needs. That's what we need. And if I'm the leader of that, if I'm the one that's kind of showing them around, that's fine, because we're trying to grow the sport. We're trying to get it out to the non-traditional fan and grow that fan base. So having them there, a well-known icon in the music industry and just in the world in general, everybody knows who Migos is. I think, right? Everybody knows who they are. Well, they do now, right? So I think having them there just elevates our sport, that next step that we need. So we keep having them. I don't know if we have any big people here this weekend, but, that's what we need to keep doing, is producing those types of interactions and getting them out to the racetrack, get them a part of our sport. And you never know what they'll go back and say, hey, I'll be here next time, or I'll come to the next race when we can. So that's how we keep growing. I mean, hey, if they want to, Bubba Wallace, I'm right here trying to do my thing.
We'll go next in the middle and then to Chris.
Joe Thomas, WCHV in Charlottesville. Bubba, you mentioned being a drummer. This track is very much a rhythm race track. Is that part of why you've been successful here, is you can keep that rhythm? And were your parents happier you stopped making noise in the basement and started making noise at the track when you were growing up?
Yeah, I had an electric kit, so I can adjust the volume, so they didn't really complain too much. But yeah, I think the rhythm technique here, it definitely translates over. I mean, you can say from drumming, sure, but that's one of the reasons that Jimmy Johnson's so successful here. I watched an in-car of him last night. I was watching his in-car from last year, and you just see how much of a rhythm he was in. Coming from the back, he just looked so relaxed and so smooth and so confident. And then, that's what translates over to speed and success here. So, I'm trying to keep that, trying to get into that rhythm, get our car to where it's manageable to do that. And then you start clicking off those good feelings, those good vibes, but definitely can translate over from drumming.
We'll go next to Chris.
Yeah, Chris Knight, catchfence.com. Daryl, if you could invite anybody to come watch you race from any type of genre or celebrity, or who would it be and why?
That's tough. That's a tough question. My favorite actress was at Daytona. I didn't even get to freaking meet her. Charlize Theron. I'm still kicking myself over that. I don't know. That's a tough one. I mean, I'm like huge into music. I'm huge into the movie scene. It was really cool meeting Justin Hartley from This Is Us last weekend. He was a huge fan. And I was kind of jealous of Junior and Amy hanging out with them last year. And then after Daytona, he sent me a DM. So that was pretty cool. But I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of people we can get out to the racetrack. I think Kevin Hart would be really funny to have out the racetrack, get him in a ride along, get his reaction to how fast we get to go somewhat. That's a loaded question. Everybody, come on out. Come out and enjoy the sport.
All right. Do we have any further questions for Bubba? Okay, we'll go back to Caleb.
Caleb Whistler, kicking the tires. Could you just talk about going to Texas in a couple weeks with the second year of the repave?
Hang on tight. That's all I know. Jesus Christ, we're going to be flying around there. The speeds are outrageous right now with the new pavement there. Just looking at the speeds there, I mean, that's going to be the biggest thing, is just trying to tackle and get through turn 3 and 4, the biggest thing, and not getting out of the groove. You've seen a lot of accidents happen when people got out. I mean, I remember there standing on the top of the spotter stand for the first Cup practice and seeing how slow guys were, just trying to figure out the track and figure out the groove. So now that's worked in a little bit. We can go back and watch some footage and be ready for it. But just hopefully the groove widens out a little bit, which it does throughout the race. But we still need a lot more to go to get back to old Texas.
Our final question.
Jacob Seelman, Speed Sport. This sport's a family sport, Bubba. Do you have a particular Father's Day memory or a memory with your dad at the racetrack that sticks out to you?
Yeah. Obviously being here in Victory Lane with me, but but I'll go back to the go-kart days when we first started. We were at Concord Speedway there on 601 where I started racing. And I don't know how many races in, or I don't even know. I think we had started racing by then, but we had decided to go out there and practice and test. And we were the only kart there. And we had set up cones to kind of stay inside the groove, run this groove here. And Chris was standing in turn 3 with a cone, and I'd go underneath him. My dad was standing off turn 4 behind the cone to go around him to make sure I wasn't hugging the corner too much, bogging down speed and whatnot. And they started moving cones, and I held my line. I ran over my dad like, I don't know how, 30, 40 miles an hour, and I'm strapped in. It was a champ buggy, so you can sit up out of the seat like an open cart and look around. So I just know I killed my dad. Killed him. He's alive. I thought I killed him. He's alive. But sitting in that moment, I come to a screeching halt at the start-finish line and just crying my eyes out because I just knew I killed him. And coming back, and Brad walks in like, what the hell are we talking about dying here? But I sit there, and I don't know what happens. I didn't unstrap. I'm sitting there waiting and still crying. And he comes up, kind of hobbling up, and his tennis shoe went 100 yards past. And he hobbles up and gets it. And he's like, all right, let's keep going. Gets back up. And the scariest moment of my life, running over him. So that's a funny story to talk about that I haven't really mentioned before. But, yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Bubba, and good luck this weekend.
Thanks, man. Follow that up, Brett.
I know what we're talking about.